I say gods. Hello, everybody. Welcome to hellagregLIVE, part of the Super Network. I'm not sad you're here. I'm sad I broke my headphone rack. It was an inconvenient spot anyway. I am Greg. Find me everywhere at hellagreg or at hellagreg.com for all your hellagreg needs. It's the most I've probably heard my name in a row like that, and I don't really care for it. I'm going to assume you're watching on Twitch if you're here because, you know, you're here. But just in case you missed the live show, it's going to be posted on YouTube and on hellagregLIVE Facebook on Thursdays. And there's a podcast that comes out. It's the same show, just in a podcast form. Enough about Thursday. Let's talk about today. Today I have with me Jesse. Say hi, Jesse.
Hi, Jesse. I mean,
There it is. That's the move.
I forgot how to do it.
It's been a while. Tell the nice people where they can find you.
Oh, you can find me on any of the social... Well, actually, not Facebook. I got off Facebook. You can find me on some social medias at Cromulent Jesse, or everything is connected at perfectlycromulentjesse.com.
Perfectlycromulentjesse.com.
Yeah.
So yeah, today we gathered to discuss the testing at the Edgewood Arsenal facility. We're going to cover some of what went on out there during this time. Some of you guys might remember this story from Serial Chillers. Some of you might not.
I don't.
You know, I know a lot of that has been blocked out.
I don't remember a lot of the stories that I told, though. So
intentionally.
Yeah.
I've done my own chemical experiments to remove them.
I was going to say, I'll call it intentional. Yeah, it makes me feel better about it, at least.
So as we go through the story of Edgewood, we're going to refer back to the documentary, A Bad Trip to Edgewood. If you haven't seen it, please watch the whole thing. I'm going to give you some clips while we do this. So some of this isn't pretty. I'm going to kind of skim through the ugly stuff. I'm going to keep it as, cool as we can. And then I'll also kind of set things up before I actually show you the clip. So don't worry. Let's see. Oh, yeah. So there's a few new things. There's channel points and stuff like that. You get them. They're down in the bottom corner, probably over there, I think. And, you can use them to do stuff on the channel, change the light colors, unlock emotes, do cool stuff like that. You can also make Jesse and I shoot shots, dunk basketballs, do cool things like that.
I think one just came through, actually.
Yeah, shoot the J, Greg from the desk.
Yeah, just switch it to there. I'll verify for you that you stayed at the desk.
I got it. Oh! You know what? I think bounce shots are going to have to be the move from this far out because shooting the J is not the move from back here. But yeah, there's that. You can do cool stuff like that. And then there's also, text games, exclamation point heist, exclamation point gamble. You can earn points for watching. You can gamble them. You can redeem them for sound clips. I have some. I'll show you which you can redeem them for. Sorry if these might be a little loud. I don't think they are, but.
Do you not?
Just because I feel like that's a question I find myself asking a lot. But my favorite for the end of the show.
Bing, bang, boom. See you next Tuesday.
Don't say see you next Tuesday.
See you next Tuesday.
I've even got some inspirational stuff. Here's some JFK.
Give me a place where I can stand, and I shall move the world.
Damn right.
That's nice.
Well, I found that one because I was looking for the clip of him saying, I will break the CIA into 1,000 pieces and scatter them into the wind. And it was never recorded. It was just written about. So that sucked. But you can subscribe. You can donate. All that cool shit will show up on the screen. You can go to the merch store, hellagreg.com. There's a little merch section on there. You can get all kinds of neat stuff. Cheer some bits. Throw some dunks. We'll do all kinds of fun shit. And we'll talk about Edgewood. And I believe you have a story for us, too.
Something like that.
Something like that. So I'm excited. You excited?
Always.
All right. Let's fucking do this. Feel free to chime into 805-666-2513. Now, shall we?
We shall.
All right. Edgewood Arsenal Facility, 1948. The Army Chemical Corps began using a facility 20 miles north of Maryland called Edgewood Arsenal. It had been around for a long time before this. It predates World War I. Like as a facility, it was called Gunpowder Neck.
So it's never had a name that didn't sound ominous.
Pretty much. It's I mean, that's what it was called when they bought the land from the guy that owned it. When the U.S. military bought it, and so they used it as like a training ground, and they used it like in World War I. They used it to manufacture ammo, and then World War II they used it for manufacturing incendiary rounds and stuff like that, which was like, aside from a nuke, like the major killer of World War II was the incendiary bombs that they were dropping, because they would catch whatever they hit on fire. And then enough of them going off at once would cause firestorms in the cities, like massive fire tornadoes and shit that would just wreck an entire city.
They're like, at the very least, we'll catch some guys on fire, and they'll run into other guys.
That's pretty much what happened. That's pretty much exactly what happened. Shit would catch on fire, and it would cause more fires and more fires and more fires, and then eventually a firestorm, which would spread. So,
Firestorm sounds metal. Dibs on the band name if it's not already one. Probably is.
Probably taken. Firestorm has to be taken.
I'm going to look it up real quick, and just in case dibs, though. Just in case dibs.
So the Army Chemical Corps began using this facility testing because they encountered a lot of gas in World War I, World War II. So they began working on defense systems, gas masks, suits and things like that. Quick personnel coverage, like for vehicles, where you could be like in a Jeep, and if somebody were to drop, tear gas on the field, you could pull this little thing and it would go boop and pop a dome around the Jeep that would, keep you safe.
Domes are tight.
Yeah, it was a cool concept. It didn't really play out too well, but it was a neat little concept. They operated in this capacity until 1975, allegedly. Now, I say this capacity, I mean like chemical experimentation, because that's what started taking place in 1948. We got a lot of Operation Paperclip scientists, and we were doing a lot of the continued testing.
The real good guys. That's what I've heard.
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to try not to reference last podcast too much with this, because they covered it as well, and they did a good job. It's just I don't want to give you the same information.
Right.
But one of the things that they said that made me laugh was people are walking past each other in the hallway trying not to give the Hitler salute like it's Dr. Strangelove, and just the visual that goes with that, it really cracked me up. It really kind of sets the tone, because this whole place has
do you imagine just a couple times they're like,
stretching it out.
Buddy. Yep.
Did you see that? He almost broke.
I love America.
So this place does have a bit of a frat house feel to it, because they kind of did what they want and experimented how they want, and it was really loose, and it wasn't as strict as maybe it should have been. It wasn't as well maintained as maybe it should have been. So but then again, there's a darker side to it, because like I said, they're continuing a lot of Nazi experiments, which were we wonder what happens if you do this, and so they would just test it with no real regard for the person they were experimenting on, and that's kind of where the themes run together, because a lot of the test subjects, in this and that we're going to talk about, and a lot of the experiments that we're going to talk about were done on test subjects who didn't know what they were getting. Now, if you get
they understood they were being experimented on, but they didn't.
They were told, hey, come to Edgewood. You can, then you don't have to, you don't get latrine duty for a month, and we're gonna have you test some summer clothes. We want to test the tactical use of cargo shorts.
Only we're gonna line them with fire ants. You ever seen those Amazon rainforest gloves they give to turn boys into men? Yeah, we're making shorts out of that shit,
dude. So they're gonna. I mean, essentially, it was I wonder what happens if we do that. Some of these guys got. Well, we'll cover it, but it's crazy what happened. But it was used as an experimental chemical facility for the U.S. government and the Department of Defense. They wanted to know what chemicals they could use to stop, incapacitate, or kill their enemy. But they also wanted to know how to keep their soldiers safe, allegedly.
So war stuff.
Well, it was more if we have this technology, you have this technology. If you have this technology, how does that stop us? Like, we gotta be able to push through what you have. We gotta make a defense that's better than your offense. So we have tear gas. You have tear gas. We have tear gas masks. And they're like, well, we have mustard gas.
So this is a game of chess, just 2 steps ahead, whenever you can be.
Right. We
have gas that'll melt your gas masks.
Okay, well, we have stronger gas masks.
Yeah. We have anti-melting agents we've put into the compound.
It's all about being the little kid, that when you're playing tag, no, I have a wizard shield. Like, you just got it.
No, this tree is safe.
Base. You just got to get there before the other person. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
And that was the whole thought of the Cold War was we don't really know what they're doing, so we're gonna try and guess what they're doing, and they're awful, so they got to be doing obviously the worst possible shit. So we got to come up with the worst possible shit and know how to protect ourselves against it.
Right. So it's like it's okay because we're only doing the worst possible shit to defend against the worst possible shit.
So the part that makes it disconcerting for me. Now, I don't really know how to approach this, but the Nazis experimented on the Jews, who they viewed as lesser people, and you look at like Unit 731. They experimented on their enemies. They experimented on prisoners of war. At Edgewood, they experimented on soldiers, and they grabbed like the strongest and the best. They wanted, again, I got this from last podcast, but it's what they call the astronaut class, which is like the top 25% of the soldiers.
So they took the dope soldiers and did this?
Yeah, because they wanted the strongest. If we can bring the strongest down, how do,
They're
obviously.
like, yo, you seen that Captain America shit that's coming out in comic books right now?
I mean, it's that time.
You think we could do that?
1948's right there. I mean, I don't know a lot about comic books, but that's the time period it's set in.
Yeah.
But but what I'm saying is they took the best of their own and were experimenting on their own people without telling them. So this facility was used for the creation and manufacturing of chemical and biological weapons, as well as chemical intoxicants for use on humans. Just in case you didn't know, biological weapons are a direct violation of the Geneva Convention.
Yeah. And strangely, I did know that.
I got a new sub. Thanks, NG Chris. Appreciate you, dog.
Also, really quickly, Captain America made his first appearance, Captain America Comics #1, March 1941.
Okay, so that was already happening. Captain America had already happened. They had already done the experiment in the comic books. They well, it worked in the simulations.
Let's see.
So we're gonna put this into practice.
See how this goes, guys.
Yeah, I've got some clips, man. We'll show you how well all this actually worked. So a lot of what's happening out here is actually a war crime. Experimenting on people but using manufacturing biological weapons, and then I don't think it was a war crime at this time, obviously, but it's still pretty uncool. But everybody was, like I said, it was for defense.
Yeah, so. But like not very long after this, it will become a war crime.
Yeah.
So therefore, everybody kind of was like, "Yo, we don't really do that shit too much." You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, just be cool. This was one of the few facilities where they actually manufactured I forget what the term was, but it's where they have the agent and the shell and everything all loaded and ready to fire as one. Where after these plants were, or after these laws were passed where you couldn't manufacture biological weapons, they had to break the process up where one plant manufactures this compound, one plant manufactures this compound, and one plant manufactures the shell, and you have to assemble it when you're ready to fire. That's how they moved to it. That's what they did to get around that.
I see.
So they're still manufacturing biological weapons. It's just a multi-step process that gets a lot more people involved. So you have a lot more contracts that you have to pay out. The huge. Sorry, I'm getting worked up. So these experiments, again, were very similar to the ones performed by Nazis in World War II. A lot of the soldiers they experimented on were unwitting in the things that they were doing. They were told things like they would receive extra time off and be able to sidestep certain duties, including cleaning the latrine. They were also told they would be testing the effectiveness of certain protective gear and non-protective gear to see how it does against chemical agents. So like I said, they'd be like, hey, we want you to put on these cargo shorts. You know, we're getting ready to go to Vietnam. It's going to be hot. It's going to be humid. Put on these cargo shorts. Let's see how tactical they are. Throw on this Hawaiian shirt. Here's a puka shell necklace. Here's some flip-flops. Go in this room, and, you know, we'll come get you in a few minutes. And so he goes in there, and they lock him in there with like 4 or 5 other guys, and everybody else is wearing different variations of protective gear, wetsuits with gas masks and full-blown inflatable tent things that they can operate inside. And this guy's in there in cargo shorts. And so they pump it full of, what were they using at the time? Mustard gas, chlorine gas, sarin, ricin, you know, all the real positive stuff. And then they'd pull
It
him.
all sounds really nice.
They would pull him out after a few minutes and, treat them for their burns and stuff like that. But that was pretty much what went on. That's how they tested these stuff. So, like, I wonder what happens if somebody in a tank top is exposed to this gas.
Hey, Mark, could you just walk from there to there? Yeah, so what's with like the clear tubing? No. Don't worry about that. We just need you to walk. Okay, starts walking. Is this normal?
What was really bugging me was like I was watching a video where they were talking about the history of the facility, and one of the guys goes, the guy giving the speech, he's like, "Oh yeah, and you know, this is where the bunks were at that time, and these are the gas chambers, and they're still there. If you go down and look inside the building they're still there. They're gonna get torn down soon." But I'm like, dude, this shit's from 2015.
Yeah.
Like,
Hey, really quickly, you gotta throw down a dunk.
I gotta throw down a dunk.
Surprise.
Oof.
Surprise them.
All right.
Here, let me get out of their way.
Dunk cams up. Let's see. I think I got it through the legs. Stretch it out.
Hey.
I think I hit it.
Hey.
Yeah?
Looks good on tape, bro.
Somebody clip that. I'll put it in the highlight video.
Watch out, Jesse.
It's going in the highlight video. The dunk compilation. All right. So, Paul just twisted his ankle.
I've seen him do it.
All right. I forgot where I was. Oh, yeah. Testing protective gear against chemical agents. Some of what these guys were using, again, was like tear gas. And, you know, if you could take your shirt off and make a gas mask out of it. Mm-hmm. No. You know?
Like, what if we made it out of cotton?
No. Like, nothing is working. So, some of what they used was, you know, again, real poisonous shit. They did a lot of experiments with animals, which you know, really makes me sad because animals can't really defend themselves against that. You know what I mean? Like, the unwitting participants in humans really makes me sad, but like the animals thing really makes me sad because animals have like an infinite trust for humans.
Yeah, they're like, "Yo, what up, homie? Oh yeah, I'll try that out."
Yeah,
oh my eyes!
Like I'm just a little cat. Like, you know, you could pick me up and you pick them up, and then they're like, "What are you doing with my head? Why are you putting it in this box?" So like,
yeah, I'm sad now too.
yeah, it really makes me sad. In fact, surprise. Here's let's see. Yep.
There's your clip.
Experiments took place. By giving a cat LSD, Edgewood Arsenal scientists could turn nature upside down.
Whoa, dude.
Now, keep in mind, this poor little cat is on like
A ton of acid.
10 times the human dose of acid.
Yeah, that's too much acid, man.
It's too much acid for a person. That cat literally has no frame of reference. They put a little like rabbit in there.
Animals were always tested before humans.
Well, yeah. I mean, this is fucking crazy, dude. Like, you've all seen that, like, classic video, too.
Army
where, like, the dog's
scientists
head
wanted
is-
to learn
Yeah.
about the dose levels of nerve agents
Oh.
and chemical compounds.
What a bummer.
Like they're
What
blowing
would
it right. They're
incapacitate
blowing
and
like
what would be lethal in an
aerosol
attack,
LSD right in his face.
and how their
He's
troops
trying to
could
eat
defend
it.
themselves under attack.
It's like, yeah, but dude, purple tastes like doors.
Schnozberries taste like schnozberries. No, this poor guy. Like, it makes me so sad.
Yeah, I'm trying to add levity to a very difficult and
Goats
sad
were used
moment.
as guinea
So we'll stop it before the goats because that shit's sad as fuck. But you can see what I'm getting at. Like, the goats, they used them to. Oh, it gets worse. They used the
It
goats.
gets worse.
Yeah, they used the goats to test gas masks. Like,
It's a
that's.
bad trip.
But they used goats to test the gas masks, which was the sad part. Like, because like pretty much every goat died. Like, there was just the what comes up is a pile of dead goats.
Yeah.
And that's not cool. So I'm not gonna show everybody a pile of dead goats, but
Since Firestorm was taken, dibs on that band name.
pile of dead goats. Was Firestorm taken?
Oh yeah, by so many bands.
We are Firestorm Seattle. We are Firestorm Miami.
Uh-oh, look out. Firestorm Nebraska is here.
That could be huge.
We could see for miles.
The biggest thing out there. So yeah, the animals were used like as a benchmark, and then they took the things they learned from that, and here, I'll click off of that so you don't have to see a pile of dead goats off to your side.
Oh, I wasn't looking at them.
Oh no, it's part of the psychological breaking that we're doing here.
My eyes are all spread open, Kubrick style.
It's very, it's clockwork green. So the guy that was running, he was in charge of the volunteer program at Edgewood. His name was Dr. James Ketchum. He was a retired Army psychiatrist, did his psych residency at Walter Reed Hospital from 1957 to 59. He joined the board of research there in 1960 and was asked to join the psychochemical warfare studies at Edgewood in 1969. So I think when somebody comes up to you and says, hey, we want you to join the psychochemical warfares, like, what are your first thoughts?
No.
You don't want to be involved in psychochemical warfare?
No.
Right? Like, is this a test?
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Really?
Are you from internal affairs?
What do you want me to say to this? So,
No more lemon plate.
he was in charge of volunteers for the program. He oversaw a variety of tests, including one called the Cloud of Confusion.
Oh, so they just they're not even trying to hide the fact that it's a gaseous research they're into.
Oh no! These guys, this was all sanctioned. This is all cool, dude. This isn't the CIA. This is Army. This is military shit. Like this is everything's good. This is accounted for in the budget. This is not funded by selling crack to the inner cities like the CIA. This is like
Fun.
yeah. This is Cold War tax dollars at work, buddy. So it gets better. It was under Project Dork that they did Cloud of Confusion.
Project Whale Dick?
It was essentially a massive trippy cloud that they used to incapacitate soldiers from 500 to 1,000 yards. So from 500 to 1,000 yards away, they were firing gas canisters of like, a cloud made from BZ or BZ, which is what they called it. It has other names. I can't really pronounce them. There's a lot of THIYC things like that, letters.
One day we'll just do a show where we try to pronounce the names in some chemical weapons.
That could be fun.
Could be fun.
But this, it was basically like what they were using was a mescaline. BZ is like a mescaline derivative, and it's like pure mescaline.
Oh,
and then
3 pures? Where's that 4?
I lost count.
Too many pures.
I lost count.
Doesn't need to be that pure, from what I understand.
Well, and then they amped up the dosage. And this stuff, we'll get into it, but this guy, this Dr. Ketchum, was a lifelong friend of Sasha Shulgin, who created MDMA. You know,
It's a fucking party here, dude.
it is a party here, dude.
Part of me's like, I'd want to be there, but then part of me's like, I would have been experimented on.
Yeah, and so Colonel Ketchup retired as a colonel. He from the military. He went in as Dr. Ketchup and retired as
Dr. Catsup.
Ketchup. Catsup. I've been way over my head. So some of the guys he brought in for the test were told exactly what was going to happen. Some of the human test subjects were lured in under false pretenses.
No way.
Some were brought in being told that they were going to be testing riot control gear and gases. Some weren't told anything other than what to report and when, or other than where to report and when to be there. And some of them were told that they were going to get to test like the tactical use of summer clothes. Like I said, you know,
Just keeps coming back to summer clothes.
well, I mean, how are you going to lure a guy there? You know what I mean? You want somebody to come to Maryland and so you can dose them with a bunch of drugs for a long time.
I mean, like, are they coming voluntarily? Like, hey, we need you to test summer clothes. You're like, man, you know what? That sounds like a good goddamn weekend. I'm in.
That's pretty much what they did.
Oh,
They were like, come test, you know, come help us at Edgewood. We're testing, you know, tactical clothes. We're testing the effectiveness of the suits and stuff like that. So these guys would come and, you know, some of them had a really cool experience. Some of them got like, they were like, hey, we know nicotine has a tendency to steady the hand of people who've been shaken. So we want you to sit here and smoke a few cigarettes and then take some pot shots out at our firing range and see if it really does, you know, steady your hand. They're like, we just developed this new thing called Sanka. We want you to try it. It's like coffee. And, you know, we want you to see if it has the same effect. Here's some caffeine pills. See if this peps you up. You know, stuff like that. They were doing a lot of that. And then some of these other poor bastards got things like atropine, scopolamine, BZ. But like, I think this was done for a variety of reasons. But some of these guys had their faces sealed in a box like that rabbit did. And, you know, they overdosed them on LSD. And so from 1955 to 1975, over 7,000 soldiers were tested on. Roughly half of them were tested on with psychochemicals.
that's too many, man.
Oh, dude, wait till we get to the end numbers. Atropine is a nerve agent or a pesticide or it's used for like pesticide poisonings. It can also be used to prep for certain medical procedures. Scopolamine.
It's such a weird dual use that, like, listen, we can use it to prepare for surgery. It's really great. It's very sterile, keeps things clean. Also, spray it on your plants and you can kill all the fucking bugs as well.
Well, it kills pests. You don't want pests living inside you.
Yeah,
It makes sense.
Seems dangerous to be putting the shit that kills the pests also inside you, but hey, who the fuck am I?
They used scopolamine.
Cromulent Jesse, that's right.
Look in the camera. Give it to him.
Cromulent Jesse, that's right.
I wish I had a zoom button. So they use scopolamine, which had been used for centuries. Like in Haiti, they used it to create zombies.
I was gonna say make zombies.
Yep. And then currently, it's used to stop post-operative nausea.
Fair enough.
But they tested a lot of this stuff.
I probably had some in May when I had that appendectomy.
Check your bill.
No,
See if they itemized it.
I'd prefer not to.
Yeah, that's D-Town got it. I that's what BZ is.
Oh, that's
Like I told you, there's a lot of CI.
Is this the first test on how to pronounce things? All right. Quinaclinol benzoate. Yeah, I'll work on that. I need to work on my accent.
I sat here and I stared at it for a few minutes while I was sitting here doing this stuff, and I'm looking at it and I'm like, So I can try and pronounce that, or I can just call it BZ like everybody else did.
Quinaclidinil. I'm going with that.
That's what you're gonna go with?
Yeah, quinaclidinil. Look at it.
3-quinaclidinol benzate.
Yeah,
Benzolate.
Quinaclidinil.
All right.
Clidinol. It's there, man. I'm just
Whatever
saying.
you say.
Quinaclidinol.
I can't find it.
I am the quinaclidinol commander.
When you think quinaclidinol, you think of this face.
Not this fuck. Not any of these fucks.
Oh man! Shout out to J Muse.
Take the quinaclidinol and I rub it on my nose like this.
That's right. People did have to agree that they're over 18 to view this channel. I forgot. We're good.
I was going to do it anyway.
I'm doing it anyway.
Mine too, and Sponge Rubber ends up there every goddamn day.
Everybody's 18 on the internet. BZ, again, was originally developed to fight gastrointestinal issues. It was adapted and tested by the military in 1951, and it has psychoactive effects similar to very, 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 very strong LSD.
Again, you don't need multiple varies
I feel like
in the strength of LSD. I'm just saying, for these guys doing this research, just one LSD is good.
Yeah, see, and I feel like they missed that. They didn't get that memo where sometimes less is more.
Yeah. Oh, this is one of those cases.
Oh, this is definitely one of those cases. We will get into it. But BZ lasts for roughly 3 days.
Oh,
In like a single dose.
that's fun.
It causes loss of motor function and amnesia. And when I say loss of motor function, this guy is like, it's like watching somebody try on somebody else's legs. Like he clearly has no idea how to use them, and he's trying to like figure it out and like losing his balance, and the doctors are catching him, and like
3 days is like, you got to take vacation time. You can't even have a full-time job and do this
so
drug.
that's what they were. That's
It's
what
Sunday evening, honey. Oh, we'll call them to work for me.
just sitting there grinding your teeth, grinding your teeth on the couch for a long weekend. No, on last podcast they were talking about how like this guy would go out to dinner, or he would take people out to lunch and then like dose them, just to see what happened. With this shit, like going out to like go out
Just
like,
to see what happened, and then what, follow them for 72 hours or
No.
what? He's like, you're off free in the world. I'll read about it on the news.
he would test the drugs himself and then he would give them to other people. I don't think it was Dr. Ketchup. I think it was somebody else.
Like someone said in chat, it's probably Colonel Mustard.
Again, the Dr. Ketchup thing I think was Henry Zabrowski. It just made me laugh. But
Like Detective Popcorn.
well, I mean, is the name Ketchum? I could see how but yeah, he would dose them basically just for funsies. He would hit these people with this 3-day LSD trip and be like, all right, there you go, see ya. So something to consider.
One of my first like real like portrayals of what a trip might be like was from Beavis and Butthead Do America. So I was in no hurry to do any type of hallucinogen.
Dude, that was
at
that's probably one of my favorite animations.
Yeah, it's intense.
The Rob Zombie animation.
It's intense. If you haven't seen it, go see it. I don't think Greg can play it, but
I wish I could, dude.
yeah,
I totally wish I could.
just look that up. Look up that part, and you'll like it.
Do yourself a favor.
Do it.
But in addition to the loss of motor function, this shit would also cause amnesia. So it's not like you had this like incredibly enlightening trip and now you can remember. No, it's like you're just missing 72 hours where you couldn't walk, you couldn't talk, you couldn't think. They're asking you math questions.
You're like Master Shake when he had the brain parasite.
A little bit.
Suck it dry.
A little bit. So some of the soldiers would be led into small rooms, strapped down to beds. Some would be packed into a 9x9 room with only a light and no working door handle on the inside. Like it had a door handle, but the door handle didn't work. It was just there for. It's like
That's so much worse.
It's the TSA. It's the illusion of safety.
That's so much worse.
Way worse. It's letting you feel like you have control.
Except for that, every time you touch it, it doesn't open a door, man. Is it a door to nowhere? Is it
Easy, Jim. The Doors band name called it. They're all, shut up, Jim. God. Yeah, some of these guys would be led into the room. They'd be gassed to unconsciousness and then revived. And then, gassed again.
I mean, some people get off on that, but
Yeah.
those people are generally consensual.
Right. And these doors, they could only remain open for about 5 seconds at a time. Otherwise, the gas in there would dilute too much to be usable.
I hate this.
So they would have to
Yo, we get too much air in the poisonous gas.
a little bit. a little bit. So they'd be like, hey, we got 5 seconds to get 9 guys through that door. Ready? Go, 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 go.
Not kicking them in the ass.
And they get all 9
Cattle
guys
prod.
they get all 9 guys in there, and then they slam the door shut and they spin the little lock, and then the guys are on the inside and they're like, okay, this isn't so bad. This isn't so bad. Oh God, is anybody else's nose running? Is anybody else's chest on fire?
It's just like it's just fucking rainbows coming out of their noses.
No,
Like,
this wasn't the trippy gas, dude.
Oh,
Yeah, this was the ricin. And so they're gassing them with nerve agents, and then they'd be like, "Okay, that's enough, and they'd unlock it real quick, and they'd be like, "Go, go, go!" And you got 5 seconds to get the fuck back out the door.
Sounds like a good inspiration for you ever seen that like Russian sleep experiment creepypasta? Mm-hmm. Sounds very like locked them in a room of gas and like,
Dude, I don't need to read those because I have read this.
Yeah. Fair
I have this in the book
Fair enough.
Transformation of America, like about the girl who was an MK Ultra. She wrote her own. Kathy O'Brien was the lady's name, and she was an MK Ultra victim, and she wrote a book about her experience and the people that she met through it and who she worked for and all this crazy shit. So I don't I mean, I don't really like creepypastas. Excuse me.
You gotta change the lights command.
Oh, what color?
Give them a color, Paul.
There's supposed to be a color with that. Oh.
He said, nah. They're already hella green.
Yeah, what color? What color? I need an answer. Well, until we get an answer.
Is Paul flexing on me right now?
Purple.
He's
We
in
have
tier
purple?
2 and 3 emotes.
Is that purple?
Yeah, it's purple.
It's purple.
That's purple, man.
That's gangsta purple. Nice. Oh God, what was it called? G-Funk. That's what that sound is called. Thanks, Dr. Dre. So
Use his real name.
Andre. So again, these doors could only remain open for about 5 seconds at a time, regardless of what you just went through. When that door opens, you got 5 seconds to GTFO. Some of these guys would be told that they would be testing quote unquote drugs, which seems ambiguous at best. Like, imagine it's 1955 and somebody's like, hey, you're tired of being in Korea? It sucks. Why don't you come home for 3 weeks? When you come home for 3 weeks, we're going to give you some drugs. We'll give you some caffeine pills, maybe give you some Dramamine.
You ever read Captain America?
He's like, actually, I have.
Oh,
For the last 7 years, that's been my favorite movie. That's been my favorite comic book.
You should probably stop reading it. This is nothing like that, but we'll make your lungs burn. I mean, feel better.
So, like, they bring you home. You're doing that whole thing, and then they, dose you with LSD.
Sure.
And don't tell you about it.
Fun.
Right. Again, some guys got it easier. So a couple were given caffeine and nicotine. Some were given atropine. Some were given, and I got a couple theories why on this. I think it's because I think it was a covering their asses thing, where they were like, "Yo, so you had a bad experience? What'd you do the whole time that was such a bad experience?" And he's like, "Well, I chain smoked cigarettes and drank coffee." And he was like, "It was out of a terrible experience?" He's like, "Actually, no. I mean, I was more regular than I'd have ever been." And they're like, "What about you?" And he's like, "Well, they kept me on acid for 100 days." And they're like, "Sure, they did."
One guy had to smoke 2 packs a day and drink 2 cups of coffee.
Yeah.
The other guy just had to take 10 tabs.
I mean, seriously, they were like, Benadryl and try and stay awake. And he was like, okay. And then they were like, meth and try and sleep. And he was like, I can't.
I need another VCR. This one's already taken apart.
Like, that's the kind of stuff that they did at this facility. So again, I think they were doing that to cover their asses so that when people did inevitably talk, and there were enough positive experiences, about 50-50. Also, I believe like I said, I think it's a way for people to give an honest experience and then be like, yeah, I went to Edgewood. They gave me coffee and cigarettes, and they had me try something called cargo shorts while I ran a mile with some equipment. Like, overall, it wasn't bad.
I didn't like how floppy they were when I was running and my pockets were full, but like, yeah, I could see walking. Yeah, that's probably a good experience.
As opposed to the guy that was on acid for weeks.
It's like, yo, pockets are just a construct, man. They're just a place to put things,
Things are just stuff if you think about it.
Stuff's just like A construct, man.
And so, and you know, all this time they were trying to do, you know, trying to create super soldiers in addition to, creating these.
That's fun.
Oh yeah, no, this is great. I have this labeled here as Tweakler, because Hitler was on drugs and he was trying to make a super soldier, and so he was taking, you know, meth and trying to. So look at him. This is him at the Olympics.
Oh, run.
Like, look.
Oh my gosh, yes, they run so fast.
That's not sped up or anything. My guy's just sitting there, rocking back and forth. Look how shaky he is. Like, he's doing bad. And
Yeah, the master race. Wait, go back, play it one more time.
no, okay.
Just pay attention to his right hand when it zooms out. Like, just that second shot specifically. His right hand is just doing this the whole time.
Yeah, it's what, like,
Right here. Pay attention to this right hand when it switches. Look at it.
Yeah.
Drum.
Tweakler, dude.
Tweakler's a good name for it. I like that.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate that.
He, I mean, obviously a piece of shit human being and all that, but he was doing the same kind of thing. They were taking soldier performance enhancing drugs, or they were trying to, and that's what it was doing to him. And so they, you know, continued the experiment here.
OG Tweaker.
Yes. So like I said, they gave that was Hitler on, I believe, meth and or PCP.
Dude, so he probably could have just fucking thrown a refrigerator at you right there too.
You see, it depends on how much you take, and here's why it depends on how much you take. Because at Edgewood, they gave a soldier PCP and then had him run a military obstacle course.
He just crashed through all the walls.
Dude, no. It's like, okay, so I've watched enough cops to know what people running on PCP looks like.
Yeah.
I was not ready for this.
Several weeks later, on a windy, bitter, cold day, the same volunteer ran the course again. This time, he received a small dose of a chemical compound just before he started his run.
The chemical involved was PCP, better known today as the dangerous and illegal drug angel dust.
He felt compelled to disobey his instructions not to touch the platform when he jumped.
And this guy's top 25% in the
Although
military.
his vision was not impaired, he found it difficult to focus his attention on the next objective. His physical actions were noticeably slower.
That doesn't look like the guys you see on cops. You know what I mean?
His motor coordination was disrupted because of the compound's effect.
PCP
maybe
gives the
it's two
subject
drugs.
the delusion of
Maybe
unnatural
it's meth
strength.
and PCP.
I mean,
I
look how
feel pretty good, sir.
he's
Are you
completely
cold?
overheated.
No, I'm not cold at all. You tired? No, I'm not tired. Well, I could run. Could do some more, could you? Yes, sir. I could run. I run 100 miles right now. Is that right? That's right. Pretty pepped up, huh? Uh-huh. I run through it, and now I feel good, and I'm not tired, and I can run through it again.
He sounds
You see
like
what I mean?
mentally handicapped. Like, he sounds like somebody with like mental retardation.
Did Sergeant
Like,
Ditchkus give you any instructions about what you were supposed to do tomorrow?
Sergeant Ditchkus?
It's actually
yes.
Sergeant Javelin,
Let me
but
see. What
no
was
big
I
deal.
supposed to do tomorrow?
this poor dude.
Tomorrow? What, is today Thursday?
Today's Thursday, that's right.
Today's Thursday. Uh-huh.
Stalin
Well,
and shit.
Tomorrow... Oh,
You ever seen this shirt or?
wait a minute here.
You lost some buttons there.
I lost some buttons.
So that poor bastard, they just overdosed him on PCP, and they were like, "Run this obstacle course," and and you know what probably happened is they probably gave somebody a little bit of PCP, and it got his heart rate up, and it improved by his performance improved by 10%.
So like,
Or-
what if we
or-
do? What if we do 10 times the PCP? It's got to improve it by 100%, right?
I mean, it
The
seems
math
like
checks out.
it seems like that's what happened. Is it was what if we give him, 6 times as much as we just gave him.
They did the math.
And not very fucking well, my friend. Not very well. So he was given entirely too much PCP. Again, we've seen guys on cops that are far more athletic and coordinated and focused. This guy was not given PCP cut with anything.
Maybe they just did one dose. This poor son of a bitch, like you said, got 10.
That's what I'm saying. This was mixed with nothing, and it was just straight PCP that they gave him a lot of. They were just like, "Yep, give him a bunch, see what happens." Again, maybe if they dialed it back a little, just a skosh, it might have worked the way they wanted, and PCP would be in the Army. And, you know, they'd be like, "Hey, welcome to the military. You just finished boot camp. Congratulations. You could do 100 push-ups. You can run a mile in 6 minutes.
Just inhale this."
Yeah. Here's your PCP inhaler and your M4. Get out there, son. Make this country proud.
Yeah, no problem, buddy. No problem. Thank you. Thanks, Sarge. Thanks, Sarge.
They said a lot of the guys would like
Hey, I lost some buttons. Is today Thursday?
See, that made me feel so bad for the guy. Like, I mean, it's a little bit comical, but like at the same time, I'm like, this poor fucking guy. So then they also did experiments with LSD and dosed a small group for the except for the drill sergeant. So I'll show you a little bit of what that looked like.
They're like, no, we don't. Sarge doesn't get it.
Well, they were like, yeah, he had to be
he's the control. I don't know what I've been told.
That's Dr. Ketchup.
And cautiously began to give small doses.
2 hours later, the squad, all except the drill sergeant, now drugged with LSD, again was ordered to fall in. The response was not the same. Notice the volunteer who salutes several times. 5 minutes later, his severe depression caused the medical officers to end his participation in the test.
Oh, shit, that's me.
But in
I
marching,
can't do it anymore,
the drug
man.
squad, although starting fairly well, gave a sluggish and ragged performance.
Ooh. Pedestrian
After
man.
a few minutes, the men found it difficult to obey orders. And soon, the results were chaotic. There was much
homie on the
laughter
end
as
is
the group
having a
attempted
good
to give
old
expression
time.
to inner emotions. This elation was group supported, and an individual who was separated from the group would show severe disturbance.
Yeah, no, then it gets really fucking sad right there, because there was a guy that they kept isolated. They kept him on acid for...
He just had mad FOMO?
No, they kept him on acid for like 93 days or something like that.
Oh, that's too many days.
And then isolated, and he was African American, and they told him that they were keeping him separate because other people in his unit wanted to kill him, and so that's why they were keeping him separate.
Here, take this.
Yeah, well, I mean, didn't have a choice. They were like they would pump it into the room, like they had aerosol acid, is what I'm saying. They're pumping it into the room for days. They said this guy would like he dictated an entire novel. He played massive imaginary games of chess. He laughed. He said unfortunately he laughed until like his sides were like, he physically couldn't laugh anymore because it hurt. Like the pain outweighed whatever was making
it
him laugh.
hurts.
Yeah, it starts right there with him laughing like in a little tiny box, and it's just really sad.
Oh, it's a bummer.
Yeah, a little bit.
It's like when you like go to Hollywood for the first time and you realize it's actually a terrible place to go as a tourist.
It's just a dirty town.
And you're like, oh, I'll walk down Hollywood Boulevard at night because like there'll be less tourists. And there's just a bunch of motherfuckers like screaming at you from the streets. And there's like a dude sitting there like who shat his pants already. And he's just going,
why are you describing me in Hollywood?
That's what like this reminds me of. Like all of these bad experiments, just people on Hollywood Boulevard ended up mimicking it. And you can see that today still.
It's still there. It's all there. So the average dose of LSD given to the soldiers was between 3 and 10 times stronger than what you'd be able to get on the street. And it was also...
Don't challenge me.
On one occasion, the dose was 100 times stronger. Yeah. So one simple little acid would just wreck you. I mean, it's 100 doses of acid. Yeah. It's gonna melt your brain hole.
Really quickly, if I could sidebar. There's this, when I was a kid, there was this dude that lived like right across the street from me, and he was like probably in his 40s at the time, and he was real like over the top, real wild, real loud, and he like loved the neighborhood kids and shit, not in a creepy way, and like he never grew up kind of way. He was still one of the neighborhood kids. He was like 17 in his brain, and the story was that because one of my like one of my uncles went to high school with him, and he was like a real good baseball player. The dude lived across. His name was Curtis. And so the legend was that Curtis one night was doing acid. They were all doing acid, and he like took a hit and was like, "Oh, I'm not feeling anything, man." And took another hit, and then took another hit, and took another hit, and took another hit, and he took like 12 hits of acid that night. Then he fucking fried his brain, and that's why he ended up being. Other stories were like, "Oh, he's schizophrenic. That's really all it is." And I don't know what it was, but it was this tall tale that went around with like just
column A, a little column B,
a little too much acid, and this guy went fucking crazy. And then you're like, oh, well, how about
100 hits?
100
at
hits.
once?
Yeah, just at one time. And you breathe the aerosol. You just sit in the room.
Yeah, that's just the air is potent.
You don't even have to put the card stock under your tongue for an hour.
Yeah. Yeah. No, like there was one guy they did a BZ test on, and they said the nurse came in and drew a little circle about the size of a dime on his arm. And then they came in with a syringe, put one little drop of BZ inside the circle. Or no, I'm sorry, it wasn't BZ. It was one of the other nerve agents that they had there. One little drop, whip, and then walked out. He said in about 3 minutes, it felt like all of his nerve endings were being crushed in a vice.
Jesus.
Like his entire body. He said it was like that for hours until he went into a coma.
No, sir, I don't like it.
Yeah.
Not one bit.
So imagine having to take 100 hits of acid, and then they're like, "Hey, we want you to do some math." You know what I mean? Like,
no.
I can't fucking do math anyway. And that's not even like a joke. But
the individual knows where he is, he can still speak, he can answer questions, but so many thoughts are going through his head at the same time that he can't sort them out. He can't even do simple subtraction.
7 from 98.
Everything's moving.
I know it's difficult, but try it. 7 from 98 is what?
Why do they call them fingers?
Never see him thing.
Oh, there they go.
92.
92. All right, what's next then?
I don't know.
What comes after 92? Can you subtract 7
This
from
genuine
92?
confusion. Yeah. Like, it's a completely foreign concept to him. And so, like, that poor guy is on, 100 doses of acid right there.
Yeah.
And he's trying to compute.
Does not compute.
Yeah, some of the guys reported seeing giant bugs. One saw a large fly. He said he saw it on the fly on the wall, and then it grew to a size that actually paralyzed him with fear, where he said he wanted to run, but he couldn't. He couldn't move because, what did he say? Because of the sheer size of the thing. Like, he was afraid to make moves, which I get. That's terrifying.
I need the biggest seed value you've got.
No, that's too big. One guy also reported seeing a large spider, which, I just think that's worth mentioning because
Some people just might not like that part.
Well, yeah, he said he thought it was weird that he was scared of how big it was, not that it was a spider. Like, he was like, okay, it's a spider, like, whatever. But, like, it's the size of a pig. You know what I mean? Like,
That's too big of a spider.
It's huge. That's like, fuck, dude, you know me.
Just
anything
that's
is
just
too
a
big of
little
a spider.
Too big of a spider. Anything is too big of a spider.
But I just thought that was weird that they had like a weird predator-prey relationship, and those guys were unrelated in their testing, but happened to see like the opposites. Like,
shared experiences, man.
Sort of, not necessarily like because they weren't interacting. It was just something weird I thought happened. One poor bastard, the guy that couldn't do the 7 from 92. He said they took him into a room and they strapped him to an EKG machine. Or they hooked him up to an EKG machine, strapped him to a bed under a strobe light, and then they would ask him questions and then make him touch his teeth together to short the machine out, like as a confirmation of the answer. And he said the strobe light would start real slow.
That seems like such an unnecessary part of the experiment.
And he said then it would pick up speed until at the end it was and like full on
It's giving me anxiety thinking about it.
He said, and then the questions that they were asking him, they'd be like, does your hand feel like it's part of your body?
Like I said, man, what do they call them? Fingers.
Dude.
Never once seen a finger.
I gotta be honest. Any of these components individually, like being hooked up to an EKG machine where they're like, hey, I'm gonna ask you some questions. Want you to touch your teeth together to indicate yes. No. Okay,
How do I
fine.
indicate no?
Okay, fine. But we're gonna tie you to a bed. No.
Also, breathe in this mist.
Yeah. Now we're gonna hook you up to. We're gonna make you lay underneath this strobe light. I don't wanna.
Please don't.
Yeah, I literally will do anything else.
Can I do the PCP course, please?
Right. I'll run. I promise.
I won't touch the platform on the way down.
Yeah, any of that would fuck me up, much less the whole thing. Yeah. One guy one experiment that they did was they built a dummy base out in the woods, like because it's all wooded area. It's not like an open exposed Air Force base or military base like what we would have in town. But they built a dummy bunker out there, and we're like, hey, we need you guys to go out there and intercept. We're like, here's your goals. You guys are going to be listening for this. You're going to be intercepting, intel. We want you to take it and relay it. And so of the 4 guys they sent out there, 3 of them were dosed with LSD. Like, with a lot of LSD.
What about the 4th guy? Did he know? Or was he just like, what are these assholes on about?
He had no idea.
Poor motherfucker.
Imagine everyone's tripping and you're not tripping.
Yeah, that sounds terrible, especially if no one told you that they were doing it. It's one thing if they're like, yo, we're doing acid, and you're like, nah, not really my thing. I'll go with you guys, but we'll see how it goes. I'll be the chaperone.
Yeah, I'll be your trip sitter.
Yeah, it's another thing to be like, oh, I'm the trip sitter, and I wasn't even asked. It's like I don't drink, for instance. It's like somebody inviting me to go hang out to use me as a DD.
Right. There's no fun to that.
No, exactly. That poor dude. I almost feel as bad for him as I do for the dudes who were put on a ton of acid.
Well, but like you said, what about shared experiences? So these guys start. I mean, I know you not everybody sees the same thing, but if one person can plant the idea, if one person sees something and can plant the idea,
you can do that without hallucinogens. Have you ever seen the one where the guy is trying to show everybody a snake up in a tree? There's you might search for it. It's like a video on YouTube, but it's essentially he's on a sidewalk being like, hey, do you see that snake? And there's just the power of suggestion, Yeah. And people are coming under and everybody's like, oh shit, yeah, there it is. And all of a sudden everybody who's coming in a crowd develops like, oh my God, look how big there's a fucking snake up in the tree.
The guy just walks away.
Yeah, that was pretty much how it was. And then, it's just kind of that. Imagine you can convince your dumb drunk buddy of stupid shit when they've had too many and want you to take off for a burrito.
Dude, we already got a burrito.
Buddy. Yeah, exactly.
We did? Yeah, dude, you threw it up. I'm not doing this again.
Exactly.
Dude, we used to be friends. Fuck you, dude. You used to be cool. Not that we've had that conversation.
You don't even know.
You don't even know. So yeah, they put these guys on LSD and then they were sending them fake messages, but they were doing it in code. So these guys had to intercept the messages and then relay them. And like I said, they were doing it in code. So they'd be the red diamond is out at night, and they'd be like, what?
Purple monkey dishwasher.
I mean, they eventually the code names they gave him evolved into these guys making nonsensical references to playing poker and shit like that. And then, I mean, last podcast tells this story and they do a really good job with it because he's talking about all the, how they shot their whole wad with their script too soon. And they were like, shit. So they improvised they had to improvise something and the whole thing just blew up in their face like a bunch of idiots. So yeah, that was, just a little bit of it. At one point outside the psychochemical warfare division, there was also just a regular chemical warfare division. These guys were just as bad as the other guys. They may not have been giving insane doses of psychotropic drugs to people who didn't know what they were getting, but they were testing people who weren't aware.
Sure. Fun.
also super against the law, but like they filled light bulbs up with bacteria and dropped it in front of trains in the New York subway system, just to see how fast the bacteria would travel, like how far back in the train it would go. And they also tossed the light bulbs down into the subway tunnel system to see how far they would reach, like, you know, how far it would. They drove around downtown New York spraying like mold spores from
I feel like I remember this one.
Yeah, from like a dummy exhaust system on a car they had rigged up. And then they went back and later and measured how far up on the buildings and stuff the mold spores started growing. And
it's like New York City the spot to do this?
Oh, no. It wasn't just New York City. So they in a DC bus station along with 30 other locations, the Army filmed their experiments. And that just makes me think of the bullies on The Simpsons. Hey, dude, videotaping this crime spree was the best idea we've ever had. As they're like on the stolen mini bike jamming down the street. So some of these experiments actually proved to be fatal. After a bacteria was sprayed over San Francisco, certain people died due to infections caused by the bacteria.
That's what I was going to say is when you said the mold spores, I was like, I don't know, though, because I feel like it was in San Francisco. Mm-hmm. And now that, yeah.
Yeah, super fucking weird and not relevant to any of the world's current situation right now. Just thought that was weird. Was that like 3 episodes in a row or something where... Anyway.
I don't count things.
So the agents involved in these experiments, because let's be honest, it wasn't just the Army. It's not just the DOD at this point. It's the CIA's in there.
Do I know that? I guess I should.
You should.
All right. I don't know, but I guess, yeah, now I do.
Oh, you didn't know?
Well, now you do, you piece of shit.
Don't make me tell you again. They got real weird with it at this point.
As one does.
Again, they took to dosing each other as a game. So, like, you know, you'd go in to get your coffee in the morning.
It's like icing your homie.
Pretty much, yeah.
Except for that you pour the ice into their coffee and they don't know about it until 2 hours later when they're like, what the fuck?
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay.
So they went to a dinner party one night, and there was like 5 or 6 agents there at this dinner party. And, you know,
I'm going to get Johnson so hard tonight.
Olson.
Oh.
So they dosed Frank Olson and didn't tell him what was going on. So 9 days later, he developed a massive depression. Now, I know people who I've never personally done acid or any hallucinogen, but I know people who have and have not had this experience where they develop depression afterwards as a direct result of the hallucinogens. Now, I imagine being hit with a large medical dose and not knowing why could lead to depression.
I'll just go ahead. I know you weren't trying to name names, but I have done acid.
Well, no, I mean not just you. I know other people as well, but
it puts you in a different mind frame though. And I'll be very frank, I wasn't ready. I was not ready.
And I can imagine that would be an issue.
And it's like I told you, it like opens your mind view to this, and then when you're not tripping anymore, it's still there.
Yeah.
So for somebody who maybe depression was sitting right on the outside of that mind's view,
of the narrow mind view,
right? And I think it can open up a lot in somebody. I think that's why psilocybin mushrooms are being used to treat PTSD and being used to treat depression, and like there's real medical research going into hallucinogens of this magnitude. People aren't getting like a fucking gas mask face full of it or whatever. They're like microdosing and stuff, but
to help productivity in Silicon Valley.
Yeah,
that's where we've gone from it. We went from it being a military defense system to making the 60s just fucking rad.
Yeah,
and now it's to help the corporations, man.
Yeah.
How far we've fallen. How far we have fallen.
Oh, dude, the outer world isn't looking so...
So, yeah, Frank Olson, this poor son of a bitch, again,
Is this the Wormwood?
Yeah. Okay, yeah. So this guy leapt to his death, is what they say. He was, hold on, keep those air quotes.
Leapt to his death.
Yeah, out of like a 3rd-story window. Or no, I'm sorry, it was higher than that. But he leapt to his death, but he didn't open the window and he didn't open the curtain. He just dove through it.
Yeah, I mean, I've never desired once to jump out of a window to my death, but I got to imagine
The upper floors of a hotel window would be probably pretty thick.
Yeah, I don't know.
So
would I open it? Or would I just be like, damn the lacerations? Who cares? I know where the window is.
Wouldn't you feel like a real fucking asshole though if you like dove to your death out the window and you just got halfway out because the glass stopped you and just you're just like stuck in this body shaped hole in the window?
Listen, man, if I'm thinking about jumping out of the high rise hotel window floor, I'm probably not using that much hindsight.
All I'm saying is that I don't believe he leapt.
That'd be more dramatic, said Wisconsin.
Right. Have the curtain blowing in the breeze. So yeah, he allegedly leapt to his death 9 days after he was unknowingly given LSD. He developed severe depression pretty quickly. It took 22 years and his family suing the U.S. government to find out how he died. They just told him that he died. They didn't tell him how. They didn't exactly even really tell him when. It was kept a secret for a little bit. And then there's a Netflix series about him called Wormwood. So, if you're interested in the Frank Olson story, boom, there it is.
Shazam.
There's also Harold Blower, who was another victim of the experiments. This poor bastard, he was a tennis pro, and he was in a psychiatric institute for depression, was being experimented on along with 5 others by these quote unquote doctors. So 15 years in a lawsuit later, they found out he was being experimented on. He died in their care, and they don't know why. Or they didn't know why. They didn't tell the family why or how or what happened, just that he died in their care. And he was in a psych hospital for depression. So here's a little timeline of what happened with Harold Blower. January 8th, 1953, from the time 9:53 a.m. to 9:57 a.m., they injected him with 450 milligrams of EA-1298, which today we know is MDMA. And they injected it directly into his system so it couldn't be metabolized by his body. Like, because you know how your body starts working against stuff like that when you eat it or you know what I mean? It's directly.
Like, fuck you, liver. This is going straight into the blood-brain barrier.
This is 450 milligrams of straight MDMA directly into the bloodstream.
Seems like a lot as well.
Over a 4-minute period.
So it's like on a drip?
No, they were pushing syringes. Like
4 minutes worth of syringe pushing.
Well, they would push the syringe and then load the next one and then push the next one and then load. And so, however many it took them to get 450 milligrams of MDMA into this guy's bloodstream, it took them 4 minutes. However many syringes.
That's probably I think they're 100 milligrams, like a normal, like 4.5 syringes.
So probably one every 60 seconds.
Sounds terrible.
Sounds awful. At 9:57 a.m., he becomes restless and has to be restrained. Go fucking figure.
When did it start?
9:53 to 9:57, where they were pushing the injections.
Okay.
At 9:57, he becomes restless. 2
minutes?
Like immediately after they push as they push the last injection. I believe the first one's probably hitting. 9:57 becomes restless and has to be restrained, sweating profusely and flailing arms wildly. At 10:01, he stiffens up in bed, like sat all the way up, clenched his teeth all the way down, foamed at the mouth, and this went on for about an hour.
So then they called an exorcist.
No, they just let him do this in the hotel or in the hospital bed, and then roughly 90 minutes after the first injections were completed, he collapsed into a coma. He was pronounced dead at 12:15 p.m.
I don't want to live on this planet anymore.
Yeah. And so, no, it gets better. It gets better.
Does it though, Greg?
No. What makes the story even more sad and wild is that the doctor who gave the injections was asked what he was under oath, and they asked him what he was given, what they gave Harold Blower, and his answer, again under oath, was, quote, "We didn't know if it was dog piss or what it was." He had no idea what he was giving this guy. He was injecting him with something, had no idea.
Why is that what you would use, though? Like, we didn't know if it was dog piss or what it was.
It's because that's how little he cared. That's how little he cared about what was going on.
Seems like it.
So Congress ordered that they were to follow up on the test subjects from Edgewood to look for long-term side effects, and as part of a test, or as part of the and test for long-term effects and stuff like that as part of a settlement with the courts. Of the 3,500 human test subjects, 220 were followed up on, and it was determined that there were no long-term physical effects. However, 24% of the test subjects reported psychological effects. Flashbacks, depression, and alcoholism led the pack as far as their symptoms. One guy checked out his service pistol from the armory, went back to his barracks, and gave an entire class on how to disassemble and clean the pistol. He was interrupted by an officer asking what he was doing and explained that he was giving the class. And then it dawned on him that he was, in fact, the only person in the room, and he reassembled the pistol and went and turned it back in. This is like a month or so after he left Edgewood. He walked out. He went to the armory. He checked it out. He took it back. He sat down. He disassembled the entire thing down to its base parts. Had it set out. He said, I gave a beautiful class, how to clean everything, service it. He said, and then I was interrupted by the officer who asked what in the hell exactly I was doing.
Gump, why did you put that gun together so fast?
I mean, a little bit. And he was like, oh, I'm giving a class to all these.
What the fuck?
So he just put it back together and went and turned it back in. Later, let's see. Oh, yeah. So he said he wasn't able to get help partially because he was in the military in the 1950s. He said he would have been discharged as being mentally unstable and wouldn't have been able to provide for his wife and, quote, 5 or 6 kids.
I don't know.
I mean, I'm gonna let him get a pass on 5 or 6 kids since the army fried his brain with LSD.
What's Homer's quote about the kids? Like, Bart,
your
Lisa,
wife and 3 kids.
the
3
little
kids,
one?
lady. You got the wrong profile. Bart, Lisa, and Margaret. Margaret? She means Maggie. Oh yeah, I got nothing against Maggie. So yeah, he had to internalize everything. So he just kind of swallowed it and marched forward with all this shit kind of happening to him somewhat frequently. He would have these acid flashbacks.
Well, it can be stored in, I mean, this may be tall tale too. I'm not a fucking doctor, but I'm pretty sure that it can be stored like in your...
Legend has it, yeah. It stays in your spinal column.
In your spinal column, yeah. Like, can be just released at some time in your life.
Spinal. Where do you store your acid? Spinal. So there were reports of other soldiers becoming physically violent. One man said he was arguing with his wife and he just wanted her to stop talking, and he grabbed her like by the shoulders and put her through the sheetrock wall, and then like came to and was like, oh my God, what happened? And had no recollection of getting angry, pushing the table out of the way, grabbing her, doing any of that.
It's like one of those in a movie, like, and then he's like, his eyes clear and he's like,
what's
going on? That drops. He's like, what have I done?
That's essentially what it was. It was Vietnam flashbacks mixed in with acid flashbacks from Edgewood.
That's a lot of post-traumatic stress disorder.
But see, there at this turn,
he was shell-shocked.
Yeah, there was no PTSD. Dude, I've got that in here. We will get to that. One soldier became an epileptic, suffering from a variety of seizures, while still trying to raise a family and staying in the military, trying to convince himself he wasn't going crazy. His experience sounded like the best out of all of them when they were like describing what they saw. He talked about seeing swirls of lights and colors, and he said they would like unfurl and fall, and they were all shiny, and it was like glitter, but it was like spirals of glitter falling, like they would unfurl and like lights and all this stuff. And I was like, that sounds fucking groovy, but again, being forced into it, I has got to suck. So
right.
So they seemed pretty much, Edgewood, they seemed to be not apologetic about this in the slightest. Dr. Ketchum said that more people known what was going to be involved, he thinks he would have had more volunteers. And he regards the whole thing as a generally positive experience.
He's like, it was great for me. They're like, how much LSD did you take? He's like, well, I didn't take any of that shit. No way, Jose.
Let's see.
That's too crazy. Overall, probably pretty general experience, I would say.
Oh, yeah.
They're like, oh, thank you so much, Heinrich Himmler.
I mean, you're not that far off.
Overall, it was quite positive experience.
I'm trying to find...
I hate him. I hate it. I hate it all. My story has nothing to do with anything. Just to let you know when we get there. Nothing, because I knew what you were going into, and I was like, man, No.
Well, I think
wanna keep it
probably
light.
more of them would have volunteered if they knew what was going to happen to them. A lot of them regarded this experience as a very interesting adventure. And in fact, we had a number of them volunteer to repeat the experience. We did do some studies where we gave the same drug on 2 occasions, say, separated by a couple of weeks, or 2 different drugs. Some individuals received BZ once, and then maybe a couple of weeks later might get a dose of LSD.
I've had
That's the guy that was
diabetes.
That's the guy that was separated from
That dude right there.
from everybody.
Poor guy.
Yeah. There was also no aftercare. Let's see, 4230. Nobody. So these guys weren't, again, like I said, they weren't checked up on at all. They were pretty much left to fend for themselves, and that makes this extra sad. But
About situation.
You mean the United States government didn't take care of some veterans?
If they had told somebody, said, hey, we use this individual for LSD, he may be a little flaky.
This guy here is the one that checked out his service revolver and disassembled it, gave the class, and put it all back together. That's this guy here.
You know, and he may lose his bearings, but cuddle him, take him to the medical people, and talk to him, counsel him. But, you know, just don't throw him into the ditch and, you know, let him go. Because it was so hard on my family. You know, when I got back, they didn't understand what was going on. My parents didn't understand. Even my close friends, they didn't understand. You know, they figured, you know, he's really, really out of it, you know. What's wrong with him? Did he get hit in the head? Did he got shell-shocked? But if they had just told somebody, you know, and patted me on the head and said, boy, you did a good job, you know, but now you're a little sick.
That's the one that saw the colors.
He doesn't even resent them for doing it to him. He resents them for not. He's like, hey, I did it for the better of my country. You could have fucking taken care of me afterwards, though.
That's exactly it. He wanted help adjusting to life after having his brain melted by them. And
like knowing that his brain was melted by them, being like, it's okay.
Yeah,
it's okay.
You did what you had to do.
Please don't throw me in a ditch.
And that's what makes it so fucking sad for me, dude. That guy
that kind of made me really sad.
Dude, that guy reminds me.
He was a poor, broken man.
He reminds me of my grandpa. And
that doesn't help.
Yeah, and that just made me hella sad. But what I really want to point out the fact that he did use the term shell shocked, not PTSD, because they didn't at that time. They didn't know what it was.
That's like fairly new.
Yeah, well, I mean, so they knew how to wreck your brain. They just didn't know how to put it back together.
Yeah, they're still working on how.
I mean, these motherfuckers are trying to crack the human brain with drugs, and they don't even understand fucking PTSD. But hallucinogens have been used to treat PTSD now. And these assholes could have been at the forefront of this, but they could have been helping people whose lives they've ruined by sending them to die in pointless wars and ruining their mind by exposing them to awful things that they never really should have had to see.
Preach, brother.
They had potentially a solution right in front of them the entire time.
Church.
And were even so busy trying to weaponize it that they got lost in the sauce and ruined even more lives.
Hallelujah.
So that's, let them talk. Say words. What really kills me, though, is that there's a soldier who was isolated from the rest we talked about, who, he was kept on acid for a very long time and berated and stuff like that. And, in fact, it was, let's see. It was the African-American guy that I showed in the yellow shirt.
Yeah.
He said, and this is, like I said, he's the one that they kept isolated for quite a while and abused him and all that stuff. He said it tugs at his patriotism. And that kind of sat weird with me because he signed up to fight for what he believes in. Now, regardless of the reasons behind all the war and everything, regardless of it being in a military-industrial complex or being fought for the rich, by the rich, or by the poor for the rich.
But when you sign up, you know that you're there for whatever happens to happen. You
sign up because you convince yourself to. Now, this guy signed up because he's a patriot, especially in that time. You're told, hey, you're going to fight. You're going to spread. You're gonna allow other people around the world to live the way you're allowed to live.
Yeah.
And you're allowed to be free in this country, and you're gonna go fight for that so other people around the world have it. That's the propaganda that they pump you with. That and LSD. And this poor guy said it. He signed up for that, and That's what he wanted, was other people to have the opportunities and the life that he had. And they did that to him. They isolated him for 90 days and pumped him full of, hundreds of doses of acid.
Yeah, that's really
and he said it tugs at his patriotism. And that's, I don't know, that sucked. But at least, you can turn around and sue the government, right?
No,
you can't.
Consuela.gif.
No, you can't. The U.S. government has immunity from being sued by its servicemen. Mostly so that if I lead you into battle and you lose a leg,
you can't be like, you led me into an ambush.
Yeah, exactly. You can't sue me for that. So no, there's no.
Yeah.
But they also out at Edgewood, just a few some final thoughts before we get to your story. They produced GB or sarin gas and ricin. They were involved in identifying gas used in the Middle East to justify Operation Iraqi Freedom. You remember when that happened? And they were like, "Yo, there's weapons of mass destruction.
We got to get in there and really thoroughly look, mostly underground where they keep oil and stuff, because that's where you hide weapons of mass destruction too. But also we're gonna look in places where you keep weapons."
But there was the picture that he used, because I was watching the history of the base and stuff, and the guy was like, "Yeah, these are here's a picture from it," and it was fucking 55-gallon drums with a blurry picture of the label.
It said not oil
in a rock hut,
not crude oil.
Do not touch, property of Osama bin Laden. Actually, I think that was Saddam Hussein.
Saddam.
So yeah, it really doesn't get really get any better. I'll leave it there.
Does it not?
No. You can do more research on your own. You can do like I said, go watch Bad Trip at Edgewood. It's really fucking sad. So Jesse, give me something better to make me feel happy.
It's not better. It's like a little ghost story. It's definitely not what.
Oh, so you're gonna tell me a ghost story and then leave me in this dark ass room when you leave?
Hey man,
be haunted.
I'll walk you out, baby. All right, so this is just straight up an article. I didn't write anything, but I'll tell you who did. Lisa H. Armstrong, contributing writer. This is from the Arkansas Times.
Thank you, Lisa.
This is the legend of Dog Boy. Little Rock. Some people who live in Cleburne County believe ghosts, including a World War I soldier and a family, haunt a Victorian-era home in downtown Quitman. Why so many restless spirits in a sleepy town like Quitman? It may have to do with the area's past, said Dr. Mike Barnett, a retired physician and member of the Heber Springs Historical Society. He said, Quitman is much older than almost any community in north central Arkansas. During the Civil War, it was a popular place for men to enlist in the Army. He said until 1870, Quitman was a major trading center and important crossroads. It was a halfway point for those traveling to from Memphis to Little Rock or from Batesville to Conway, and there were nice houses and buildings there, he said. This is like a nice little quaint, super old town in Arkansas. Like, we're talking
something straight out of like a Wes Anderson movie.
Yeah, I mean, older. Like, we're talking like mid 1800s. Like,
oh shit.
Yeah,
so
yeah. Like
way older.
Right. This was like until 1870, it was a major trading center. So after that, it became like not such a major trading center.
Oh, so the town kind of died off.
Right, but I mean it died off in 1870. It's still a little town, but I mean, that just tells you how long that it's been around for. Longtime resident Nelda Kennedy says the Garrett family erected one of Quitman's finer homes in about 1890. Another local, Mary Nell Holliber, recalled the Jackson family who lived in the house at 65 Mulberry Street. Benjamin Jackson lived there with his wife, who died when she was about 28 years old. Their son Joseph was born in 1898, served in World War I, and died at the age of 21. Hola Bird said she also claims that Jackson's spirit is among those who remain in the house across the street from hers. In more recent years, the Garrett house has become notorious for its connection to a different family and has become known as the Bettis house. Floyd and Alan Bettis moved into the large house in the early 1950s. The couple, childless for many years, had a son, Gerald Floyd Bettis. In 1954, according to the local historian and Arkansas Democrat-Gazette archives. Gerald was a difficult child early on. A report from those who knew him said his parents were good people, but Gerald was a brat, vicious, and cruel. Holabird said Bettis also developed some unusual habits early on, including collecting cats and dogs, leading to his nickname, Dog Boy.
Wait. Collecting cats and dogs? Now,
let me hit you with the next line. He would catch stray animals and torture them. We could hear them howl, said Holabird. Kennedy agreed with Holabird's assessment of Bettis. Quote, I had almost forgotten about all those cats and dogs he had. He even added onto the house so he could keep more of them, she said. Kennedy also confirmed that Bettis had difficulties at school. Kids would pester him and take things away from him. It was like he wanted to be aggravated to get attention, she said. She cited one instance in which there was a large family reunion at City Hall, and Gerald took one of those old chaise lounges over there, you know, like the ones that the Romans would lay back on. He got some grapes and laid down on them and ate it in front of everyone. So they're like having this big family reunion. He just takes out a chaise lounger and he's like,
he sounds like fucking hedonism bot from from Futurama.
You're not wrong. Bettis' actions allegedly turned more sinister. He kept his parents virtually imprisoned in the upstairs part of the house. Holabird said he would feed them, but only when he decided it was time for them to eat. She said by the time he was an adult, around 17, locals said that he towered over his elderly parents at 6'4" and weighed close to 300 pounds. It was also regularly reported that he beat up his father and even threw him out of an upstairs bedroom window one time during his teen years. Although his father was in his 70s at the time, the elder Betts hung onto the ledge until the local police showed up. Holabird said, according to the Heber Springs Sun-Times, Floyd Bettis died in 1981 after an illness at his home, but others say that he was pushed down the staircase and died of a broken neck. Like this, I love this like small town legend. I don't even know how I found this story. I got like into such a rabbit hole.
Sometimes those are the most fun though, where you get it, you get to it from 6 articles deep, and you're like, if you like this, you might also like Dog Boy.
I was like 12 articles deep, and that's why I liked it, because it was just that line right there. I was like, oh, his dad died in 1981 from getting sick, and it's like, yeah, well, I heard he broke his neck and his son pushed him down the stairs. Like such small town gossip that it's like, well, no, clearly here's his death certificate that says he was sick. His son didn't.
No, dude, he doesn't have schizophrenia. He did a bunch of acid a bunch of years ago, and it melted his brain.
I guess we were children though. This is a grown ass woman. Now I'm like, oh, it's probably schizophrenic. I get
Children
it.
grow up to be grown ass women. Well,
yeah. You gotta. Yeah, that's true. I was afraid of Gerald, Kennedy said. If you had ever seen his eyes, they seemed to glow at night. One time he came over here and got onto us because we had trimmed a magnolia tree that overlapped into his backyard. She said, and they started cleaning that house up. One of his uncles came to my house to borrow a gun because he was afraid that Gerald would get riled up. In the early 1980s, Alan Betts fell and broke her hip, requiring a trip to the hospital.
Hold on. These sound like the kind of people, like if he does get riled up, these sound like the kind of people, like he comes over and he's pounding on their door and he's like, hey, and they're like, oh God, it's Gerald. They sound like the kind of people who would go, you hush now, Gerald, go on home.
Yeah. We don't want to hear it again. You ever heard the boy that cried wolf?
He's like, I am Dog Boy.
A retired nurse, Holabird.
That's my national anthem.
Witnessed Bettis' treatment of his mother. He was slapping her around and telling her, I'm going to have you arrested if you tell anyone what I did, not long after this incident. Alan Bettis was placed in an adult protective services and removed from the home permanently. So dad's dead, mom's gone. A little later, Gerald Bettis built a sunroom on the back of the house and sold the plants he grew, including marijuana. Holabird said authorities...
I got tomatoes. I got some basil. Got a little pot. Got some other stuff. Got maybe some mint over here. What's this? Is it just a flower? It's just a flower.
This is dill. Authorities arrested him based on this and his mother's testimony of her abuse. Bettis was put in prison in the late 1980s and died of a drug overdose. Holabird said Arkansas Democrat Gazette archives confirmed Gerald Floyd Bettis died in May of 1988 at the age of 34. When Alan Betts died in 1995, Holabird's niece, Reba Carter, inherited the house. Not long after, there was an estate sale at the home. Carter later sold the house to Tony Weaver, a truck driver from Morgan. Weaver and his wife lived in the Bettis house for a couple years. However, the Weavers experienced paranormal activity, and Karen Schillings, founder of the Central Arkansas Society for Paranormal Research, or CASPR.
Clever.
Right. After seeing a newspaper ad placed by Casper, Weaver's wife contacted the Schillings. She said that she would turn off all the lights before leaving to work for a night shift, but when she returned home, all the lights would be back on. Schilling said at first the woman thought such actions were the result of an intruder, but then more supernatural events began to happen. One time, pennies floated down the stairwell from the upstairs part of the house, and the coins stopped and fell on the floor all at once, right in front of her. Schilling said after 6 months of such occurrences, the wife was very scared and didn't want to live there anymore. I mean, you've bought a house.
Yes.
And look, it was probably maybe a little different in the 80s or whatever.
No.
Not that different. Just cheaper.
Right.
It's a big fucking deal. And for 6 months later to be like, yo, we're getting the fuck out of here. This place gives me the creeps. It's gotta be pretty goddamn creepy.
Oh yeah.
That's what
I mean,
like.
you have, because you got to walk away from that. You're not getting that deposit back. You're not getting that mortgage back. You got to turn around and sell the house.
And hope you get your money back.
Right. What have you done to it in 6 months? Well, we hung a lot of crucifixes in the hallway.
Tony Weaver has also had his share of baffling incidents. One day I was working in the house and saw a man looking through the foyer into the living room. He looked like a World War I soldier, complete with helmet. He looked so real, and when he walked into the living room, I ran after him, but no one was there.
He said, have you ever been to Gunpowder Neck?
Holobird's nephew, Quentin White, and his wife, Stephanie, lived in the house in 2003, and strange things would happen on a regular basis. Like the commode would flush on its own, Stephanie said. One day, Quentin was working on the house, and he was on the phone with her. He heard a crash upstairs, and she said, and he went to find out what had happened. White had previously stacked a large pile of 2x4s on the floor, and when he reached the upstairs room, he told his wife that the boards were all standing up straight. That would fuck me up. If I saw like a stack of lumber against the wall laying flat on the floor, and you walk into the room and it's like, it's all just standing up on end.
Stood right up.
No, sir, I don't like it.
No, that'd fuck me up too.
The couple only lived there for a few months. Weaver, who still owns the Bettis house, continues to show the home. This article was written in 2007, by the way. So this guy owned it for 4 years. He continues to show the house to prospective buyers, so far with little success. Weaver said he once placed a new pair of sunglasses and a prescription medication on a table. During that time he was there, he said that he became angry about his inability to sell the house and voiced his resentment, saying, these darn ghosts, I'm tired of taking care of this place. He said his comments apparently angered someone or something, as later both the glasses and medicine were gone. If you bring somebody in there that the spirits don't like, you'll feel chills and your hair will stand on end, he said. One lady who was interested in buying the house brought her young son and daughter with her. The woman told Weaver that her daughter was sensitive. While the women were walking through the home, the daughter stopped on the stairs and said she felt very sad. Another time, some prospective buyer saw a recliner in the home flip back on its own, like someone was sitting there. It stayed stuck like that the whole time they were looking at the place, he said. Yet another prospect brought their dog with them to see the house, but the animal refused to go inside. I hate that almost more than anything, because like a recliner doesn't just like open up and stay open on its own.
Right.
Like all splayed back.
Yeah, I don't fucking like that at all.
We're getting pretty close to the end here. Ed Munderland of Little Rock said he had eerie encounters in the Bettis house this summer. A former pilot with Federal Express, Munderland has worked remodeling the home since May. He prefers to work on the house at night because he said too many people who are curious about the ghosts want to come on in. He also said several unexplainable events happened to him. I'm a rational person. I don't believe in the paranormal. But since I've been working on that place, I feel very uncomfortable, like someone's watching me, he said. He also claims to have seen spirits several times. When I pull up into the driveway of the house at night, I see a man looking at me. He's dressed in a brown jacket and a bow tie, like from another time period.
Ew.
An extension to the house.
I don't like that.
It's like Edgar Allan Poe just staring at you.
No, it sounds like the World War I guy again.
Yeah. An extension to the house is where Munderland claims to have seen the ghost of Gerald Bettis looking at him several times. He was this huge, weird-looking cat with long brown hair, creepy eyes, and great big arms and hands. He walked right in front of me and glared at me, Munderland said. Right after I saw him, he walked into the hall and disappeared. Munderland also said that he experienced what felt like, quote, a cold wind blowing down his neck. Sometimes I hear something slam and someone walk across the floor, but I can't see anything, but they let me know they're here. In 2005, Casper investigated the house again. Schillings was the lead researcher on the case. We went there on 2 different occasions, she said. The first time we noted cold spots 10 to 15 degrees cooler than the ambient temperatures in the house. A very sensitive electromagnetic field detector was used that picks up all kinds of electromagnetic readings, and we picked up an energy force that had no explanation, she said. Schillings also reported the team tracked an entity through the kitchen where one of the team members felt like someone touched him. When we went outside at one point to get the items from a car, we looked up and saw a face peering down at us, she said. All 3 of the Casper team members witnessed the face in the window, but it was confirmed that there was no one upstairs at the time. The second time, the team used a medium who got in touch with what seemed to be the spirit of Gerald Bettis. He cursed us and told us to get out. The team used videotape to document what they considered to be additional evidence of paranormal activity, including flying orbs, which were passing through the wall, and unexplainable flashing lights. Although footage of these ghost hunting expeditions was shot over 2 occasions, Schilling said that the more spectacular tape is missing. Multiple attempts to locate the film failed, and it was disconcerting, she said.
Yeah, that seems disconcerting. I hate when evidence just disappears on you.
Yeah. So that's it. It was just a random little story about the Arkansas dog boy, ghosts. So there's this fun little house somewhere outside of Little Rock and Quitman. That's got a lot of ghost stories attached to it. A lot of the locals it's like our Wolf Manor. If only we still had it.
Yeah. So if you live near Little Rock and where Dog Boy was, please let me know at hellagregLIVE on all your social medias, because I want to know. I want to see. I want to see Dog Boy footage. I want to see Dog Boy proofs. Well, thanks, dude. That was a good story.
Thanks, man.
Yeah. Ghosts. It's fitting. It's not that far after Halloween. It's spooky. It's always spooky. Spooky seasons.
People like ghosts.
People love ghosts. Did you see the reaction in the chat? Uh-oh.
No, I didn't.
360.
Oh, shit.
Oh! Nice catch. 360.
It went in. I was blocking it, but it went
in.
No.
It came through. It came through. It's totally there. I got the replay back here.
I just checked into the door.
It's fine. It's worth it. I've got it. Somebody clip that. That's going to go...
Ow, my chest cavity.
Yeah, somebody clip that so I can put that in the highlight reel as well. I'm glad we got that in there. That's pretty much it. All I have for the show. Jesse, thank you for hanging out. Thank you for bringing a story.
Of course.
Yeah. Where am I hearing? Oh, is that you?
I was making a clip for you.
Attaboy. There it is. Oh, Chris got it.
Nice.
Nice guy. Thank you to Paul. I know he's been in and out of the chat. I appreciate you for being in there and keeping the wheels on, as well as you, Jesse. I know you're doing that, doing a lot of double, triple duty stuff. Appreciate you. Go to hellagregLIVE.com for details. Donate merch. That's right, merch. I've got shirts, backpack. I think there's masks. I have a couple that are on the way. I got the confirmation today. That makes me laugh. It's got the logo on there. There's stickers. You can get stickers. So yeah, go check it out. Again, replays will be on Thursdays on YouTube and Facebook if you want to watch this again. Eventually, I'm going to put together the dunk compilation, and I'll put it up as well. iTunes, the podcast will be out on Thursday. hellagregLIVE Redacted, so go listen to that. Jesse, anything else you'd like to add?
Nope. You can find me at perfectlycromulentjesse.com. It's easier to spell than you think.
Damn right it is. Damn right it is. Whoops. I hit the wrong thing.
Oh, no.
What am I doing? I don't even know how to use these buttons that I have. I have the buttons, and I don't know how to use the buttons.
The button.
Okay, I guess that's it. Bye.
Bye.
Bing, bang, boom. See you next Tuesday.
Don't say see you next Tuesday.